We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Welcome, everyone, to the Seacoast Committee Podcast. This is our podcast for the evening of January 12th, 2025. I feel like we are down to, I believe, a college football game left. A single one.
Yep.
So we get into off-season mode. We've already started. You can tell we've done that on the main because I posted more news articles, which tells you I've been reading archives somewhere. Pitt Girl, I believe my favorite one I found was the one where Penn State was the Penn State game from 1930, whatever it was. And they were like, it's so bad, even the bookies don't have odds on this game.
Jordan, that was from 1968.
68, sorry. Thought it was the 30s.
No, Pitt was good in the 30s.
Oh, shit, that's right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyways, as always, I am Jordan. With me tonight, we have Commish, Beth, Pitt Girl, Arthur on the ones and twos, and special guest, Mike at CFP Campus Tours. Yay! Mike, how are you, sir?
I'm great, and I'm happy to be back here. We did this at the end of last season. It was a lot of fun, and we did a lot of games since then, so I'm looking forward to chatting with y'all.
Love it. Beth, how are you?
I spent the whole week with norovirus, and it's so nice just to be upright.
Brutal.
Pitt Girl?
It's not great.
I was also sick this week, not with norovirus, though, and I am also thrilled to be upright.
Okay, and then lastly, Commish, how are you, sir?
I'm good. No illness. I am definitely going to be knocking on wood at the moment.
Commish, you're fine. You didn't go to the farm show.
I didn't go to the Pennsylvania farm show, so I'm safe for the time being. You know, maybe
my streak of killing my co-hosts when they visit is intact.
Okay, I've survived, but I didn't spend.
Let's say last time I was up there, I got knocked with COVID so badly I didn't move for like a week. So I feel
that is precisely what happened to me.
Hey, Commish, want to come visit?
Again, I did see you and rode in the car and sat next to you at the game. So I feel like I survived, but I don't want to tempt fate.
It's fair.
What a good choice.
Well, do that. My weekend, a lot of fun. Watched the SpongeBob game.
Yes.
Where Patrick Star and SpongeBob were excited about punts. So I was like, they're in the committee. And then, I had to remember that Patrick Star also star and coach as Dauber, because everybody had to remind me of that, even though I wrote it in the tweet.
What's his actual name, Commish? Come on, what's his name?
Yes, it's Fagerbaki or Fager.
Yes.
I can get it. Yes,
close enough. I'm going to go with Fagerbaki.
Fager Bake. I don't know. But I watched that. I enjoyed that. I watched that. My two kids were entranced by football for the first time. And so thank you so much for letting me enjoy that sickos-ness of the Houston Texans and the San Diego Chargers. Fun fact about that game is that there was something called Dirty Bubble came out.
Yes.
And they put the Dirty Bubble on Jim Harbaugh when the Chargers were up 6-0. From that point, it all went to hell. for the Chargers. I don't know what happened, but Dirty Bubble cursed the Chargers, but it was kind of like almost normal chargering happening too at the same time. So I don't know.
Well, folks, let's start with Mike and talking about his stuff, because I don't know if you listened last year, you may not have. If you didn't, you may follow him on Twitter. Mike, at CFP Campus Tours is your handle. What do you do?
That's a good question, right? It's the longer it takes to explain what you do, the less legitimate people see it as. And I know we've talked about it at Jordan, but I've been traveling to college football games since 2017. I've stepped it up the last couple of years with high volume. In 5 years, I attended a game at every FBS school. Since then, I've done 95 out of 129 in the FCS. Last year, I went to 90 college football games, and this year I broke that, did 100. Now I'm at 103. We got one more with the national championship. But essentially, I go to games and I cover the stadium. You watch a broadcast, you got the play-by-play, you got the analyst, you got the sideline reporter. But who's showing you the things that are not on TV? The concessions, the crowd, things like that. So I cover the stadium, and it's a lot of fun.
So what I like about your posts is that they're very structured, right? Because you've got the stadium shot, talking about how old it is, great. Get the corners of the stadium, looking real good, things like that. But then also you have something you're very much known for, which is your obstructed view. What is that?
So obstructed view, 2018, I went to Washington State. They played Oregon, and game day came, and it was the biggest game in Wazoo history. I would say every ticket was like $750. I found a single seat for $250, and I grabbed it immediately.
Woo.
Well, every light pole at Martin Stadium is outside the bleachers except for one, and that's the one that I happen to sit behind. And so Gardner Minshew throws a fade. The wide receiver disappears behind the pole and comes out the other side with a touchdown. So I became a victim of an obstructed view at a stadium where I bought a ticket and it was unadvertised that I couldn't see the whole field. So since then, you notice the stadiums have gone through several renovations. LSU Tiger Stadium started at 12,000 seats. Now it's 100,000. Neyland was 3,200. It's 100,000. These stadiums not only were never intended to be this big, but the reconfigurations and expansions were not done in a coordinated fashion. So you have what I call casualty seats, whether it's next to a press box or blocked by a beam or a pillar, and that caused an obstructed view. So on social media, I'm going to notify you where there is one, what percentage of the field you can see, and was it advertised on the ticket.
I love that this has become such a thing that is everyone, this is what they wait for. This is the high point of any of your trips. Mm-hmm. And also that you've managed to work this into partnerships with companies about getting people better seats. That's so amazingly good that the synergy is beautiful.
Well, thank you. And, there was a story in the off season where they talked about putting advertisements on jerseys. And so I just made up a post and I put a photo of me in obstructed view. And I said, your logo here on the back. And that drew attention. And I actually, TickPick, you mentioned, is the sponsor I've been working with this season. It's been a great partnership. And we made a shirt. I had to go to the local mall and pay $80 to get it custom made. The guy put obstructed views as one word, so please don't look too carefully at the shirt. But he capitalized the V, so I thought, should we put a hashtag in front of it? But my guy Kyle at TickPick, he said just run with it. But it's been a great thing to be able to pose. I had Big Red do it at Western Kentucky, which was awesome. And then for the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, I had the wrestler Big E sit at the Arizona Diamondbacks pool, which was obstructed by the bleachers they inset in the outfield at Chase Field. So it's a phenomenon. I get tagged all the time from European soccer games and WNBA games. And somebody was at church the other day and they couldn't see the altar.
That was me. I was the one that had, like, obstructed church view. You know, that was obstructed wedding view. That was me. I was at my sister-in-law's wedding. I did that. And people were like, I know that church. I know that church. That was me.
Exactly.
I did that.
Yesterday, 2 days ago during the Cotton Bowl, somebody was at a hotel and there was like 5 people there and 2 of them were on a bed blocking the TV. So that was an obstructed view. So it's funny. It's created a little phenomenon.
Playing with the form. I like this. So when you go whatever percentage of the field is obstructed, because I love that. What is your scientific measurement, sir, of your very exact measurement of how this works?
So it's a very rudimentary method, but we are fortunate to almost have it hashtag or hash marks graded out. So when I look at a football field, it's 100 yards and there's lines everywhere. So you pull out the protractor, the T-square, whatever you want to say, and it's 36%. And then you have fun with it too, because people will say, oh, I think it's a little bit more. And then somebody in the comment will say, oh, he's the pro, he knows. So obviously I don't want to call, you guys do with your warnings, advisories, and full-blown alerts and warnings. I don't want to call out something that is only, blocks out 10% of the field. So usually it's got to be 30%. But yeah, that's how we do it. I just look at the football field and see how much of it you can see, and there's the field visibility percentage.
I'm just imagining him traveling with a protractor in T-square. No,
my astrolabe out, trying to figure out, okay.
My next question was going to be, how can I get my astrolabe through the metal detector to get it into the game with me?
It might be a clear membership, somebody they do make comments though. So I went through the Las Vegas airport with 2 bananas, and bananas are $2 a piece at the Las Vegas airport. So I was saving them. And I'm like the first person through TSA, and the guy looks at his coworker and goes, hey, this guy likes bananas. It's like when you put food on at the grocery aisle and it goes on the ramp, and all of a sudden they're talking to you about that. So yeah, be careful when you put through TSA. It may be a topic of conversation for them.
But if it's in the Bahamas, hey, suitcase comes in, no problem.
Right. Oh my God, no. Prime Minister be damned, right?
Hey, Prime Minister,
there was
CFP Campus Tours sticker.
There was, just for the backstory, because me and Jordan talked about it in Frisco, went to the Bahamas Bowl, took a $53 cab ride to and from the stadium. It was about a 10-minute ride. Got there, not one person taking tickets.
Nah, Bahamas Bowl's vibes. No,
I had my actual suitcase and backpack, and I just walked in, and the Prime Minister was there. It was a huge event, and you could put 2 and 2 together for somebody maybe putting something in their bag for the event. And so they do it different in the Bahamas.
Oh, but
guys, we should go to the Bahamas Bowl next year.
No, we should run the Bahamas Bowl.
What I learned today is that Iowa at 3:00 in the morning basically is the Bahamas. Those are the same.
Yeah, I mean, like the weather delay Iowa game, you can bring in the dog and in your bag, just walk in the dog,
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, same.
I think that could be a math equation. Iowa 3 a.m. equals the Bahamas Bowl, since we're talking about math.
Is this the Bahamas? No, Iowa.
On a shirt now.
Beautiful.
I feel like you did this crazy thing. Your last run, Mike, was basically from the 13th of December through the 10th of January. You basically did one a day. That's so incredibly wild. Folks have always just been asking, how do you survive this? What do you do?
So I call it #glamour life, which is sarcastic on purpose because there's nothing glamorous about it. During that period, I came home for 17 hours on Christmas, just so I wasn't a total bad guy to my family. But I did 2 trips, one to Honolulu on Christmas Eve and one to the Bahamas, where I was in and out in 10 hours. And it takes, the logistics are a lot. It's a tease because you're in paradise, so you don't get that. But you spend a lot of time killing time in your car, killing time in the airport. I joke that, I want that SpongeBob meme where he's all buff and then he's all small. It's like me in the beginning of the year and me by the end of the year, because I spend more time sleeping in a Planet Fitness parking lot than actually inside a Planet Fitness. But really what it comes down to is you got to map it out. You're at the mercy of airlines and rental cars and all that. But there was a path, and I went to 23 college football games in 29 days between that period. I went to 2 college basketball games also. And
that's a bonus.
Alabama and Vanderbilt. Yeah. So
just some extra credit.
Extra credit. That's right.
Why not?
That's right.
How far have you gone mileage wise?
So they put me on the broadcast for the 100th game, the Stag Bowl D3, and they said some of my stats has been 107,000 total miles since August 24th. 92,000 miles flying and 18,000 miles driving, something like that. And, I was doing it weekly, but then I just couldn't keep up with it. But yeah, I mean, there was a sign at the national championship game, and it said road tested because it was sponsored, or not the Cotton Bowl. It was sponsored by Goodyear, and it said road tested. Ohio State traveled 6,300 miles, and I put a tweet out and I said, I've done 107,000 miles. So you never know how big it is until you start to add these things up. And being in California, that adds to most of it. You fly to Miami, that's 3,000. You fly back, that's 6,000 round trip. And then if you go to 100 games, you can just extrapolate from there.
So you have circled the Earth more than 4 times, and you are about halfway to the moon.
Wow.
Hey, I mean,
that's wild.
This is why you're better than me, because I had the first stat ready to go, but I got stuck there. And then you reached for the distance to the moon, and that was why you're a better comedian than I am.
That's 238,000 miles. So,
Wow. Wow.
Nailed it.
Maybe if you combine last year's 90-game travel with this year's 100, maybe 2 years, maybe
that is
big.
Probably moon-ish.
Yeah. Be careful, it's haunted.
I told my wife about you, and I asked her, what questions would you have for him for something that I have no reference for and don't find particularly interesting? My wife, she's wonderful, but you can imagine
turned into like a 1950s comedian.
Yeah.
Take my wife, please.
She wanted me to ask you, over the years of the big travel, what's the biggest mistake that you made that you learned from and just stopped doing?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, I want to say something. When I meet a husband and wife or a boyfriend and a girl at a game, it's inevitable that the wife or the girlfriend have no idea who I am. And the guy thinks I'm the greatest guy in the world. So I've been in this dynamic before.
You too. Yep. Yep.
The biggest almost mistake it was a mistake and I survived it. It was at Bethune-Cookman 2021. They play off campus at Dayton Stadium. And I have rules. And one of the rules is I'm not paying for parking. And if I don't get credentialed, we got to find a parking spot. So Daytona Stadium, it was $20 to park, and I didn't want to park there. Across the street, it was Father Lopez Catholic High School, and it was free. And so I parked there and walked across the lot, and I'm the smartest person in the stadium. There was a thunderstorm. It was a couple-hour rain delay. The game gets out about 11:45, and I walk through the parking lot. I walk over to the high school, and it's chained up. And I am one of a couple people who am locked in. And I had a flight at 6 o'clock in the morning flying to Arkansas. I was doing a 2-for-1, Arkansas at 11, Oklahoma State at 7 p.m. So I walked back across the street and I talked to the cops doing traffic patrol. And I said, hey, officer, sorry to bother you, but could you help me? We're locked in. And he said, that's private property. We have no control over that.
Oh, no.
And so I'm starting to panic a little bit. I give him my sob story, and there's several cops there. There's one cop in a vehicle, and I see him typing stuff. And out the window, he starts saying numbers to me, and he says, it's a phone number. And he goes, it's the principal of the school. You didn't get this number from me. And so it's midnight on a Thursday now technically Friday morning. And so I call this number.
Great time to call.
Yeah. So I call his number, and his lady is waking up in the middle of the night. Hello? And I said, hi, miss. Sorry to bother you, but me and a couple other people are trapped in the parking lot here at the school. Do you think you could help us out? And the first question she goes is, how'd you get this number, right? It was the very first thing she said. And I said, I Googled it. And she took a long breath and said, I'll be right there.
Oh.
And she came, and 20 minutes later, she drove, she unlocked the gate, and she said, out of all the phone calls you could get in the middle of the night, this is the best one you could get. And she goes, did you guys learn your lesson? Like talking to me like I'm 15. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I did. So and I made my flight and I got out of there. But long story short, to answer your question, I learned to be very careful about where I'm parking with a rental car, especially because I did not want to be faced with that decision of, I have a flight, I'm trying to make a record of games, and I have a rental car in a tow yard. What am I going to do?
Okay. God, that's
harrowing.
You learned your lesson.
Yeah.
The principal got you. You would have had detention. on Friday for sure.
Oh, that's
Guaranteed.
easy.
100%.
What are the things that are the same everywhere you go?
90% of everything.
Okay.
And you don't want to put a damper on people, but
No.
everybody plays Sweet Caroline. Drake is played 2 hours before the game. There's a star walk, a tiger walk, some kind of walk. There's cheers that are very similar. Concessions are similar. The subtle differences are going to be the type of the mascot maybe differentiates. But yeah, a lot of things are the same. And the thing that differentiates them in my mind is the people that you meet are really emphasizing the unique things because they haven't been anywhere else. So you can't let the fact that you've seen everything jade you, but most of these things are on repeat pretty much everywhere you go, like swag surfing and all that. And some of these things, Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer, you got to pump it up, don't you? You hear it everywhere. So,
what are those things that do differentiate them then? Like, what is that granular stuff that you notice?
It varies. One of the questions I get is where's the best tailgate? And that is so hard to measure because it's based on the day you go, who you meet up with. And so there's a lot of like things that you can't plan for that are going to differentiate the thing.
You can say LSU. It's fine.
History.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
You can
no,
just say
what
LSU.
I'm taking from this is the real best tailgate is the friends you make along the way.
Oh, okay.
100%.
There you go.
100%. You mentioned Iowa. I parked at Iowa a couple of years ago, and these people saw me pull it by themselves, and they said, "Tell me that you're not here by yourself." And I said, "I am." And they just brought me in, and here comes food, here comes alcohol. We're playing giant Jenga. They're pointing me to the frat houses, the whole thing. So it is what you do. But I would say, traditions. If you're going to the big schools, the Alabamas, the SECs, you're going to fall in line with some of those traditions, but otherwise, you're going to roll with the punches. So I don't have the best answer for you, but it's really a case-by-case basis.
I
So
find that
LSU. Okay.
it was that thing. I had a moment at the FCS title game where I was standing on that lower area at the Dallas Stadium. Frisco Stadium, technically. And watching band kids be band kids. Like, band kids, I do not know. I do not know these 90 band kids. But I know these 90 band kids very deeply. And within about 10 seconds of just looking around, yep. Are all the archetypes? Check. And that's similar of like, there's some granular changes here. Like, that kid plays horn in another school, but not here. This was the trumpet player. Personalities, though, a lot of the same stuff. And it's wonderful just to understand that deeply of like, no matter where I go, people are people, and it makes me happy.
And you know what? The band is honestly one of the best parts of going, and not for the obvious reasons. You go to so many of these Maction and weeknight CUSA games, and there is none atmosphere at a lot of these places. And those band, they're like playing with the Titanic as it goes down. They don't care. They're going to play the whole time. And so they bring the energy. They bring the dance moves. They're the ones that they show on the video board as being into the game. So I'm glad you got to see that. You went to the Frisco Bowl, which was on the 17th of December, and then the championship game for FCS was played on January 6th. They didn't put the bands in the end zone, and having those bands right next to each other, it changes the whole dynamic of the stadium.
Yeah, the way they had it was they had the bands playing sort of at angles in sort of the Frisco Stadium is just one big like flat soccer oval. So they had them sort of the bottom corners. Fine, not the same thing. But the way that stage is set up, they built the stage there at the stadium for Jimmy Buffett. They have a giant Margaritaville like convention there, or did for a long time. And so one end of this soccer stadium is a stage. And they put both bands there just blasting into the stadium. So much cooler. That's
how the Hall of Fame Bowl is set up. Like, for where the Extra Points Bowl is, there's a stadium. There's a stage on one half of it. I have thoughts about what we should do on that stage that I can't decide if I want to tell Matt or if I just want to surprise him.
Surprise. Bowl events are always that surprise. Yeah, that's
surprise is less chance he could stop it.
That's true.
Oh, I had a new Mayo idea, or I believe we had a new Mayo idea that we needed to talk to our Mayo folks, because the idea of doing a drum set, doing like Blue Man Group but with mayonnaise. Yep, Thank you, Pitt Girl. You're there. I know you see. I know you see this.
I do, and I wish I could unsee it.
Yep.
We'd have to put Beth in a hazmat suit.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
face-
gonna look like I'm doing Bioshock cosplay for this.
I'm really glad that you didn't get down there for the mayo dump, because literally the mayo in the air might have gotten you. You might have had a slight reaction just from it. Oh, Beth is allergic to eggs, and
Yes.
so we have to keep her safe from things.
Yes.
Which is why they sent me to the Mayo Bowl last year.
I mean, this
With
year, if you'd have
EpiPens-
went this year,
EpiPens.
you know, we had the idea of, you know, like Chubby having the EpiPen. You would have got Flavor Flav with the EpiPen.
I would have. I've never been stabbed by Flavor Flav before.
Yeah, boy.
Bye, everyone.
But muffled. Well, so Mike, the other interesting thing was, because we talked at the Frisco Bowl about sort of our next steps, and you were going to come to Dallas to go to the First Responders Bowl, where I live, and I was like, no, I'm not going to that one. I'm going to Charlotte, and it was all about the connection to the Bahamas, right?
Yeah, so even though the game was closer in proximity there in Charlotte, there was no flight that would make it to Miami in the morning in time to fly to the Bahamas for the 11 a.m. game. So I had to fly to Dallas, land there in the morning, and then the First Responders Bowl was at 3. I had a flight at 9 p.m. out of Fort Worth, flew from Fort Worth to Miami, landed at Miami at 1 a.m., hung out at the airport until 8 a.m., took a flight to the Bahamas, 9:15, took a cab to the stadium, 11, game ends at 4, I get picked up, drop back at the Bahamas airport, fly out at 7, land in Miami at 10, kill more time, and then we're off to the next one. So it's a lot of time in airports.
When you told me you were going to do this, I thought you were gone. I could not believe this. My body was like, oh, this sounds awful. Like, whatever. I can't do this. I'm too old for this.
Well, it's funny because I saw at Miami Airport, first time I ever saw somebody had like an inflatable mattress going, and they, you know, there's a website called sleepsinairports.com, and they did the hack to the whole thing. So sometimes you get kicked out of airports. During COVID, there were times where, you know, you're at LaGuardia and they say you got to be out between 1 and 3 a.m. and it's 20 degrees outside. So that was no fun, but people have really leaned into it. So I looked and I'm like, man, this is going to be rough. And then I see people with inflatable mattresses. Oh, maybe it's not going to be so bad over here.
The glamping of the experience.
Exactly.
One of the most commonly asked questions for us, what's your reward situation in terms of your airlines? How do you make that work?
Yeah, so I'm Southwest Airlines because in California, they're big. Same with Texas, I'm sure. A-list preferred, companion pass. I joke that, I have the companion pass. I could have someone come with me, but they don't have the schedule flexibility to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But it's cool now because they give you 2 free drinks per leg per flight. So I could fly, let's say, to Nashville, and it's Oakland to Dallas, Dallas to Nashville, and I could be 4 drinks deep in like 4 hours. So you enjoy that part. And then I have the Southwest credit card. I pay every bill with it. I pay my family's property taxes. I'm trying to go pay bills that other people have just to accumulate points and turn those points into free flights. Southwest doesn't fly everywhere, so a lot of Delta, a little bit of American, JetBlue a little bit, and United as well.
What's the home base? Like, I mean, what's the home, like, you know, you said you flew back home. Like, I know it's California. Is it like the Oakland airport because it's Southwest? Or is it like the one that's called San Francisco, but it's not really San Francisco? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate name change. So
Yeah.
San Francisco Bay Area, Oakland Airport, right? 20 miles from San Francisco International Airport. It doesn't make much sense. So
Yeah.
I'm closest to the Oakland Airport, but you realistically can fly out of SFO, San Jose, or Oakland. It will depend on price or time or things like that. So, and you got BART.
Okay, so you can basically like go through 3. Like, I mean, where I'm at in San Antonio, I'm stuck. Like, unless I really want to like make an hour and a half drive to Austin, which, I mean, it's still going to route me through Dallas or Houston almost every single time anyway. But yeah, so the home base of having like 3 when you fly back gives you a little bit more flexibility in and out, and opens up way more flights, I guess, to you.
Oh, it does. And when I flew to Honolulu for the Hawaii Bowl, I went to the Potato Bowl the day before. So I flew in. The game was at the game was at 12:30. I flew out of Boise at 7:30. I landed at SFO at 12:30 a.m. the on Christmas Eve. The train opened at 5. I took the train from SFO to Oakland and then flew out of Oakland at 9, landed in Honolulu at 1. The game was at 3. I left at 11, flew back to SFO, landed at 6. I had to wait for the train to open at 8 because it had limited hours on Christmas. And then I took the train to Oakland and got picked up by my family at 9:30. And then I flew out the next day at 5:30 a.m. for the Rate Bowl. So having all those airports at your disposal, it really helped because Oakland does, in San Jose, they don't do a lot of red eyes, but SFO, it has a lot of late flights. So you got to use your imagination and all the resources at your disposal.
I can't even.
Just
I'm
listening to that, the logistics of that, and I'm over here like, how are you alive?
Like I can, like I'm like, okay, cool. I can plan this, but can I physically pull this off? No. it's like I can map this out. Like, yeah,
See, this is not
totally
because I can't plan this, but I can physically do this. I think so. Together, we are okay on this.
You guys are one sum of a person, right?
Yeah, I
Yes,
mean,
that's
Make
why
it
we're in
happen.
committee.
This is the committee definition. Like we all bring something to the table.
I would plan and do this. I'm an idiot. So I'm not saying that you're an idiot, but I am. So
Well, I told you, Beth, I have the companion pass, so you can come
All
anytime
right.
you want with
Beth
me.
is
Wherever
flying.
we're going. You guys,
goodbye,
Well,
job.
you guys can come. anytime.
Goodbye, job. She's flying from Pittsburgh, so you got to work on that
I
one.
always quote Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. He goes, "To be successful in business," he goes, "friends, family, religion. These are the demons you must slay." So
Yep.
any other commitments, just be damned. But but last year when I did this, I lost 11 pounds during the season. It took me about a month to physically feel like my legs were under me. This year, even though I did more games, I was prepared a little bit better. So it's funny because I think I even mentioned this to Jordan at the Frisco Bowl. When you go to 100 college football games and you eat everything, that could not be good for your health. But this year, I wanted to keep my weight up. I ate a lot of not concessions, but press box food when I got it, and didn't lose weight, and I feel okay. Like this is an 8-day break, and I'm grateful for it. But I'm excited to get back out there for the national.
Do you feel like cooped up right now? Like, I mean, you're not flying anywhere. Like it's basically you're going. I'm gonna make it, like you've been on the interstate for about 12 hours straight of a drive, and then you exit, and then now you're like in a residential neighborhood trying to go like 20 miles an hour in a school zone, and it's just like you're like, okay, like when can I put my cruise control back on? I need to get going again.
100%. I mean, to be honest with you, this. You don't want to say that it's an addiction, but there's something like intoxicating about traveling the country and having. You guys have a much larger following than me, but I still have a good sized following. And when people say you're traveling by yourself, I'm traveling with 50,000 people with me wherever I go. And so, if you're at a game and you notice somebody in a funny outfit, you can just kind of poke your buddy next to you and say, "Hey, look at that guy." But I can take a photo and share it with 50,000 people. Yep. And so to be able to have that experience, and it makes you A, not feel by yourself, but B, like you're saying, Commish, it makes you want to be out there all the time. Yeah. And, I've kind of fell out of love with the NFL a little bit, but today there were 3 games and I saw Buffalo and it was 30 degrees and I was like, man, I would love to be there. Yeah. So I feel cooped up and think about, should I be doing basketball? Should I do other sports? So it's on your brain constantly.
What do you find that like you are missing more right now? The planning for travel or the doing of travel? Because I would imagine bowl season is such a weird shift for you because suddenly where you're going and when you're going to be there.
You're 100% right. Because I tell people the traveling is the most fun and the planning is the second most fun. We did still have the element with the on-campus games and the FCS playoffs. So there was a little bit there. But they have the 12-day rule and the 6-day rule after week 3. So when they do the schedule, they announce the kick times for the first 3 weeks in June, and then after that, weeks 4 through 14, it's a 6-day and 12-day rule for networks to prioritize the best games. So on one hand, it's always expensive to book a flight at that short a notice, but on the other hand, it's cool to see who the matchup is going to be and where they're going to prioritize it. And I always try to go to 2 games on a Saturday. So, hey, can I find a noon game here? Can I find a 7:00 game? You mentioned the bowl schedule, Beth. There was on December 27th, I did the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth at 11 a.m. I went to DFW, caught a 4:40 flight, landed in Vegas at 5:35, and caught the Vegas Bowl at 7:30. That was the first time I ever did that. So that was perfect. Exciting. But yeah,
beautiful.
You missed both. You missed the planning and the traveling equally, I would say.
People have been asking sort of more of so than like your favorites, whatever. What are some things that more stadiums should have that they don't? Like what's something that, you're like, there's more places should have this thing.
So it's environment. And it's things you can do to help the environment. I want to do some kind of state of the stadium experience article in the offseason to talk about, from the guy who's been more places than anywhere, to talk about how the prioritizing for this being a TV sport has really impacted the in-game experience. And, you don't want to say that you're faking things, but there's a lot of times where it's hard to say like, okay, here's the vibe and you should be here. The whole point of watching a game on TV is going, man, I wish I was there, but it's hard to sell that. So one thing that at TCU, they did something that I thought was really cool. It was a happy hour for beer inside the stadium that started when they opened the gates and then till 30 minutes before kickoff, $3 beers. And it was a way to try to say, okay,
that's fun.
Leave the tailgate and your free beer, but hey, you're not going to be paying that much more because it's only $3 here. So that was a good example. And then something that I really want people to do is I think they should pay students in their food accounts to come to games. Scan them at the end of the game. I go to, I'm at student unions at 6 a.m. and there's a 20-person line at Chick-fil-A. And I just think that if you offered them 6 times per year, $15 or $20 to come attend the game, they would stay the whole time. Maybe they would fall in love with the experience. Maybe they would come back. And I was I'm rambling here, but I went to Ohio in a Maction game a couple years ago, and they offered free tuition to one student. And they had a packed house, even though it was a Maction, it was all packed. Mm-hmm. But they announced the scholarship winner at the end of the third quarter. And even though the game was 24-21 entering the fourth quarter, all the students left, right? So that was when I thought, okay, you could do that, but you got to do it at the end. So my answer to you is anything that is going to enhance the in-stadium experience. So free beers, compensating students, things like that, to really have people come and fall in love with that experience, maybe the first time or, the second time they come to a game.
Let me know if you want to write something like that. I'd be willing to extend our Substack to you. No problem whatsoever.
Yeah, I would love to do it.
We can pump it up. Just let us know. We'll get Google Doc working, but we'll talk about it offline. But I'd be happy to post something like that and publicize as much as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, I would definitely do it.
My favorite thing in undergrad was that at Dartmouth's tiny ass stadium, the concessions actually took our dining card money.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh man.
So you could literally just go up and whatever you were grabbing was just the same as buying it like in the dining hall. And it's because we didn't have meals, we had like swipe as you go. Mm-hmm. And so, just all like hot chocolate coffee, done. Great.
When I was at Pitt, the basketball concessions worked like that until I was a senior. They changed it, which sucked. But it used to be like that, where you could go and use your dining dollars for the basketball concessions.
When I went to ULM, man, it was just like swipe your badge, you get in the game for free. Like there's no fee, like nothing. It was just like, just show up, man. Mm-hmm. But like I'm sure now it's a little bit different. There's like a fee with the tuition and whatnot. But yeah, every semester you would get like X amount of dollars and you'd have to spend that. And then like it's like December and it's exams and you got like $700 remaining or something.
Yeah, you got people just buying
And
cases of Gatorade.
they're just buying cases of like, you know, the 20-ounce Cokes and walking out with like a dolly.
Teal didn't have concessions while I was there, so the dean of students just made jambalaya out of the back of her pickup truck in the parking lot. That's what we had.
Oh my God, so much.
Anyway, kids go to Teal.
Jambalaya, I'm sure it was good.
I guarantee you, we talk more about Teal on this program than any other pod. I can honestly say
the internet's only Teal football podcast.
For sure.
Teal College in general. I guarantee we're talking about the biggest parts of it. Okay, other questions. What are things that you like to see out that make good tailgates? Like you talked a little bit about that earlier, but what are those things that make it be like, okay, this really feels good?
I would say the variety of things that they're offering. There's standard stuff. I'll give you an example. So I was at the FCS National Championship the other day, and I'm walking to the stadium, and this guy, Montana State fan, is trying to flag people down. He had 40 pounds of brisket that he bought, and nobody was coming to eat it. And so I knew some people, FCS Fan Nation, that's an account on Twitter, and there was a bunch of guys there. I call them up, and we got like 15 guys to come and descend and get this guy this brisket off his hand. And that was unique because, we talk about Buc-ee's and they have brisket, and I'm kind of fascinated with Buc-ee's because we don't have them in California. But that was something that you don't find at every tailgate. So also, if people are leaning into like a local tradition, I almost commish. My first game of the year, it came down to Monmouth at Eastern Washington or Jackson State at ULM. That's where I wanted to go. And I wanted to tailgate in Monroe with the Jackson State fans, with the Louisiana food. That almost drew me there. So I would say people that are leaning into the local food establishments and then offering something unique that maybe you're not going to find anywhere else.
There's a thing that I've noticed that I love this when there's a team like themed random vehicle like in the parking lot
or the ambulance or
like the one when I went to Northern Arizona to the Walk-Up Sky Dome, there was a giant school bus. It was just called the Jack Wagon. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, like the whole thing had like loaded propane tanks. There's like, it was cold and snowing when I went up there. They had like, the giant fire pits. They had like everything. It was almost just like a resort of tailgating attached to a school bus. So it was just, it was amazing, and I love things like that. I don't know if like that's one of your favorite things to see, but I love it. Like the Yukon Beerland, so whatever it's called. But like all those little like quirks. I think Iowa has like a combine, like a tractor.
Sure.
I mean, something like that. But some of those things, I love those things, and that's probably my favorite. I don't know if those, like you see something like that, you're like, I gotta get a picture here, and I gotta talk to the people that have this.
Yeah, Charlotte has the Normulance, which is a converted ambulance, Niner Norm. North Dakota, there was a black bus that was converted into a vehicle. These are Toledo, a guy I know, Rocket Ryan. He has a straight up school bus painted in Toledo colors. So those things do draw attention, and they have they'll turn the back into accommodations where you can sit and tailgate. And a lot of times, like you said, Commish, it's very cold there, but you don't care. You're going to check out like the vehicle at the school in the parking lot.
Have you seen any tailgate hearses? Because I'm out here like pondering becoming a person who owns a tailgate hearse.
There has to be.
You should. I think there's a need for that.
There was
to be
one,
honest with you.
It wasn't the one. It wasn't the Colorado State one that prompted this, but there was a hearse. I can't remember what it was, but there was a hearse. Let me see if I can find something.
Can you imagine?
I'm Googling. There are Chiefs fans. There's an LSU tailgate hearse.
Okay,
Perfect.
yeah.
That sounds right.
I think there was some more, but I'm going to search our Twitter real quick.
There's also a Tennessee one. Thank you, Google.
I imagine just whipping out your table on the rollers, like you sit back and just one smooth motion, bam, things come down, boom.
You see the vision.
I absolutely see the vision. Okay, that's great. What are some things, Mike? because you go to these giant stadiums, you also go to smaller stadiums, and I'll let you decide what small stadium means, who you're going to offend. But what makes a small stadium interesting? Because a lot of people, I think, see that and go, how can a small stadium bring the juice?
A lot of times it's location. App State Kid Brewer has got to be the best example.
Madhouse, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Madhouse holds 31,000 listed capacity. Oftentimes they get over 40,000 with standing room only. They've expanded that stadium. They put the end zone facility / bleachers there to make it bigger. There are hopes to expand it, but just the combination of being in that setting with those views, the standing room only, the whole underneath the scoreboard, the students fill that whole thing up, and you go there. And, I call that place Field of Dreams. And Field of Dreams, the movie, there's a baseball field where there's not supposed to be one. And that's kind of what it feels like when you're driving up those hills, up the mountain, and you descend on this town. Boone only, I think, has 18,000 people, and they get 30, 40,000 people regular there. So a place like that, Montana, Washington Grizzly is fairly similar, where it's in the shadow of the mountain right on campus, and they get 26,000 people. It's the largest on-campus stadium in the FCS. The decibel level, I think that Eddie George, they played a playoff game this year, Tennessee State, and he said it's the loudest stadium that he's been to. And we're talking about, playing at Baltimore and at Pittsburgh in the NFL. So yeah. I would say environment, and then also interesting. The Sun Bowl is not exactly small. It's 47,000, but just being in a historic place with views, valleys, so I-10 runs behind the Sun Bowl. It divides the United States and Mexico, so you can see right Juarez there when you're from the game.
It's awesome.
But yeah, I would say location, setting, vibe. It's Baskin Robbins. What's your favorite flavor in college football stadiums? Because you got the 100,000 seat stadium monstrosities that just bring the juice every single time. You got the 50, 60,000s like the Autzons that are great. And then you got the smaller, like the 30 to 35,000 that a lot of G5s are, that it could be a unique characteristic of the stadium, or it could just be the fans that bring the juice.
I mean, I think my thing right now, whenever I get to travel a few times with the kids or without the kids or whatever, for the committee, is it's like I've been trying to hit up the unique domes in FCS. Yep. And I got Holt Arena. I got the Walk-Up Sky Dome. I'm hoping for Kibbe next year. And then I want to hit the Dakota domes, like South Dakota,
1, 2, 3,
the Alara Center, and then the Fargo Dome, the Uni Dome. I want to hit like all the FCS domes, and of course get to Q's whatever for a game. But that's the fun thing is I like to see something like that because you don't get many of those atmospheres, and the smaller schools with domes, there's not a bad seat in the house at all. Like you can't, it's so small. Like no matter where you're at, you see everything. It's great. It's a great atmosphere, and it's a lot of fun to check out.
And it's fascinating when you talk to people all over the country. It's like their opposite is the thing that they want to see. So I grew up in outdoor big stadiums in California, never thought about an on-campus dome or anything like that. All of a sudden you go to the Kibbe Dome and you're fascinated. I talk to people who grew up in the South. They want to go to Washington Grizzly. They want to go to Bozeman. They want to see that. So yeah, that's what makes college football so great.
Seriously,
there's such a variety of stadiums.
Send me to the mountains, man. Chris? Send me to the mountains. Like I grew up in New Orleans. I was below sea level. I want to get as high as possible above sea level as I can, which I kind of did with NNU because that's the stadium I believe in FCS. Above sea level, I think
it is. I think the only two that are talking are Wyoming.
Laramie is higher. That's it.
Wyoming and maybe Air Force. I'm not sure.
Yeah, your Louisiana mountains are pretty much just the Tiger.
Yeah.
It's like the Illinois.
I've been up in that third deck. That feels like a mountain.
The highest point in New Orleans is like the levee. That's what it is. But
Youngstown State, the stadium, Stambaugh Stadium, is the tallest building in Youngstown.
Yep.
Yeah, so that just shows you. But Commish, I will tell you, got one up on me. You got to see Holt Arena after the renovation, and I haven't seen it since the renovation.
Dude, go back. It's phenomenal on the inside. Like they really did. Their SID, John, he said that they just did the renovation. The ceiling is pristine. Like I love the goalpost there, which is amazing. It's not like the Kibbe Dome is like bolted to the wall. the Idaho State ones like hang from the wall on like hinges at the top of the roof. It's just like it's like I can't imagine if something doinked there, if it'd make a noise. Maybe it would sound like one of those things that you not a triangle, but
tuning fork.
Tuning fork. It would probably sound like a tuning fork if you
Oh,
doinked.
see, I was picturing I was imagining like a boing, 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 boing.
Maybe something like that, but I didn't get to witness a doink. I really would have, but no, it looks so much better on the inside, and the outside looks great. It's phenomenal. Give a shout out to Pocatello, and then I forgot what the name of the breakfast place was that has the giant scones. Oh my god, it's I gotta look it up real quick. Man.
While he's doing that, another question. So you've come around to the Church of Buc-ee's. So I'm glad to have you as a member. Praise Beaver and everything. What's your taco of choice?
So I would say Rhino Taco is probably my taco of choice. It first of all, I talk to people all the time. It's like Costco, Walmart, all together, but it's also like Times Square in New York, where you go to Times Square at 2:00 in the morning and it's busy and people are happy. Mm-hmm. You go to Buc-ee's at 2:00 in the morning in Leeds, Alabama, and there's 75 people there. It perks you up. And
seriously, you're like, why are you out here?
Yeah,
well, when you are on the road so I did one drive this year. It was a Friday night Wisconsin Whitewater game, and then I had a 1:00 game at North Dakota, and then a 8:00 game at North Dakota State. It was an 11-hour drive and had a 13-hour window to get there. And when you're driving like that, these things they're motivators. It sounds weird, like to get some kind of snack or some kind of treat, it keeps you locked in a little bit. And so when you're going through the South in the November and you're trying to knock at, I went to the 100th Turkey Day Classic, and then I'm trying to get to Atlanta to get to the airport to get to Colorado State, and then I got to go to UCLA and all. So I just have found that Buc-ee's, it's universally liked. And I wanted to put out a tweet about things that are universally liked. I wanted to put the Kibby Dome, I wanted to put Buc-ee's, I want to put Big Red, and I was going to put the Sicko's face, because those are the things that I know when I travel to college football are universally liked. I mean, when I talk to people and the Sicko's committee comes up, they're like, their facial expression changes, and I'm like, man, I got whatever you guys got that people like.
I'm not going to say
if you do the quadrant tweet, those are your 4.
I'm not going to say universally. Mostly. No, we got some haters. It's fine. But
shout out to our haters.
Shout out to the haters. Whatever. By the way, Pocatello, Jerry's Jumbo Cafe.
There we go.
Okay.
Jumbo's Cafe. There was hash browns, and there was like a scone, like the biggest omelet I've ever seen in my life. You had the option to have brown gravy instead of like normal gravy. Get the brown gravy. Go for that. Huge win there. Also, they have something that's called a scone, and it's not like a scone you would think it would be, like with like fruit. It's just a donut. There's no donuts in Idaho. It's just a giant like piece of fried bread. It's amazing.
Sounds delicious.
I gotta check it out. Well, I have a dream that I could do Idaho State and Weber State on the same day. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes apart. So I need somebody to go at 1, and I need somebody to go at 8. So it hasn't happened yet, but that's my dream.
And maybe next year. They just signed a new deal with the ESPNs. They're going to get some more night games. And that's really just like a strip. You fly into Salt Lake, you go up straight to Pocatello, straight back down, like 2 hour and 15 minute. Not that bad. You could pull that off.
I'm hoping for it. That's crossing my fingers for that one.
So you're going to get to 104 this year. What do you do next year then? What's the next act?
That's a really good question, and I almost would like take suggestions. But I will say so this is my 8th year traveling.
I got you.
There are 263 Division I schools. I've seen a game at all 134 FBS. And 95 out of 129 in the FCS. So I'm 34 short.
I need you to do this. If you need a suggestion, I got a suggestion here. So Alaska is the only state without college football, right?
Yes.
You got to hit 49 states, a game in 49 states. That's your next challenge.
So
and
the
then
only one I'm missing is Vermont right now. Then
there's D3 in Vermont, I believe.
Yep.
Yes, there is.
So you got to catch You got to do that. But in 1 year, you got to hit all 49 states.
Oh, in 1 year.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
1 year. That
me and Jordan talked about a year and a half ago about that Barrow, Alaska stadium. The one.
That's 24
I looked at the
hours.
trip and so there's one flight in, there's one flight out. I would estimate the cost to be it's about a $2,000 trip.
Yep.
Yes.
There's 1 or 2 hotels up there. There's no cell phone service at the game. You're not going to be able to be above the stadium to truly, do justice to the location. But that being said, I mean, how the hell would you not want to do that? I would love to do that.
Yeah,
Polar bear obstructed view.
Yes,
and
we need
again,
that.
I want the polar bear gun. I will take the polar bear gun. I got this.
Beth sits in the bus with the polar bear gun to protect all of us while we're watching that. We're
Perfect.
done.
Well, that's where the companion pass comes in handy, Beth. So you can help me out.
The best part is when you fly up to Utkivik Barrow, you're flying with cargo. There are those converted airlines that are half cargo, half people.
Mhm.
And so you're basically going up with like old school horses in a covered wagon, just the modern version of that.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like there's like elephant tusks right next, on the shoreline. So you're into some old, Arctic type atmosphere. But I would love to do that. And then, like I said, I got 34 more in the FCS. And I think that if I did 2 years, 17 apiece, I could see a game at all 263 Division I schools in a 10-year period. They are adding schools. Rio Grande Valley is coming in this year. I saw a thing about Chicago State coming in 2026. Yeah. I wish there would be a moratorium, but that is what I think the goal would be. But, maybe a one in every state that can be done.
Whenever you go to RGV, that's where Jordan is from. It's where my in-laws live. We may head down there with you. So
that is, of all the places to add as well, the literal ends of the earth is definitely a choice.
Essentially, that's look like that stadium. Maybe it's about like 5 miles from the border. Maybe
but as the crow flies, it's 5 miles from the border.
It's about 5 miles from the border. But like
only a mile and a half from my ex-girlfriend's house.
Hey, hi. Look at me now. I'm part of this.
I was driving past there, and
I wonder if they put that on their application to join. Like, only 5 miles away from Jordan's
conveniently
ex-girlfriend.
located 1.5 miles from Jordan's ex-girlfriend.
It's like FAU, 2.1 miles from the beach, right? It's the same kind of monitor.
I was driving past the stadium, and my car, like, the shiver down the back of my neck, and the car starts switching. Like, I know this path. Nope, this is the incorrect path. No, it's just the stadium. We're just gonna go see the stadium. My body was not agreeing with that choice. So, with all that being said, then I think the biggest last question for this is simply, how long are you going to do this?
It's a good question.
When you're going to hang it up.
I feel like, I
hold on.
As I said,
let me let you think on that one for a little bit. Have you ever? I want to get this because we've got a lot of train fans in our Discord. Have you ever done train to train? Like old school 1930s, 1920s game to game travel yet? Have you done it? Because Amtrak, for you and your crazy schedule, is probably going to be awful.
Whistle-top store. There we go.
CFP Campus Whistle-top Tour. Have you ever done a train to train game and you think you could work one in?
Like someone in history, Beth, has had to have done this.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, I would say there might be. So first of all, I haven't, but Week 0 next year, August 23rd, Kansas is opening their brand new stadium. And that's a standalone game on a Saturday.
Okay.
Maybe that could be a day where you map out an Amtrak and take your sweet time to get there and get back. Maybe we could do that. That sounds like a possibility, but I haven't done it so far, but I would love to. When you're just trying to see 6 or 7 games per week, there's just not that opportunity.
No.
It feels like you're pretty much stuck doing a Acela at that point. Like you've got to map out a bunch of stuff right along the Washington to Boston corridor.
I mean,
you could make it work
like
in the Northeast corridor.
1999 Sewanee team.
Yeah.
Like maybe.
I mean, maybe you could hit like a Towson game, a Temple game, and a UConn game on a train. Maybe.
I highly recommend. I mean, if you're going to do that, definitely make sure you stop at Franklin Field. It is like a stone's throw from 30th
Oh, maybe
Street.
Penn could get involved in there too. But there's a lot of colleges on that, like the whistle stop tour for CFB Campus Tour.
It's extremely Ivy heavy, but most whistle stop tours were.
Well, we got 7 months to diabolically plan things now because the season's over. But I would love to do that. That would be you guys could come and we could do a whole thing. I don't care.
Sorry, rent out
It'd be
the
awesome.
Sunset Limited. We just go straight down I-10, catching all the college football games.
I want to say, was it Podcat or one of the LSU people did LSU to California for the UCLA game on the Amtrak? That's
I think Podcat maybe
Wow.
hit the Sunset Limited because the Sunset Limited starts in New Orleans and ends in LA. And I've been on that train from New Orleans to Phoenix, and then we drove up from Phoenix to the Grand Canyon. But yeah, I've been on that train. It's like a double-decker train. There's like it's a tremendous train to ride on. Also, there's the train. A lot of the trains like stop in New Orleans, which is great. Like you go like Chicago to New Orleans to DC. There's so many like different trains that way along like the interstates. It's nuts to go that way. But you could probably do something like that if you wanted to go to UCLA to LSU. Oh my God, yeah, you could pull that off.
Hey,
You
girl.
can. I have checked. You can take Amtrak from San Francisco to Lawrence. It does take 43 hours, and there are a couple of connecting buses owned by Amtrak in between.
Oh my
Perfect.
God, yikes!
I think we have to do it now. I think that this
40
43 hours is nothing.
33 of those hours are from LA to Lawrence on the Southwest Chief.
Yeah.
Which is
Okay.
probably a really scenic ride, honestly.
I'm sure that's probably awesome.
You're selling me on that. To
Okay.
be honest,
We're
with
not
you.
sponsored by
You can
Amtrak, but
you can get
Amtrak.
a room with a bed in it.
Maybe
Yes.
that's
long
the
enough
play.
ride that you can get a suite.
Just a tip.
How many
just a tip.
discrete pieces of transportation can you use in a
Just,
year?
yes, like
Not
travel
the
to a game exclusively by boat. Like boat only.
Wait, here's your next act. This is your YouTube era act, right? Like, hello, I'm wacky host. Can I get to get a football game in Lawrence,
No, my
Kansas in 20 hours only by hovercraft?
I will tell you, week 1 Thursday, I took a bus to and from Spokane Airport to Eastern Washington and didn't get a car or anything like that. There was
Cheney's right
$2 each way.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cheney's
Yeah,
right there.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
it's
not that
right
far at
there
all.
exactly.
Yep.
So no, and I guess Jordan, to answer your question, when am I going to stop? I have said that my retirement game is going to be the new Aloha Stadium opener, which is tentatively 2028.
There's no way. No, just keep. You're going to be doing this for a little while longer past that. It's fine. How does 2034?
I don't want to be 75 years old posing next to a new mascot statue. You know, that's kind of the vision that I don't want to have there. So, but it's hard for me to think of stopping. It's hard. You know, the only way you know is if you're sitting home on a college football Saturday and you're watching it on TV and you say, I'm okay with this. And the thought of that scares me right now. So,
Not
we're
time
just going to
yet.
try to keep it going as long as we can. Yeah.
Definitely when you do finally hang it up, we're going to start lobbying every single place to put a statue of you in their obstructed view.
Yes. We got to get him
Let's
with
do it.
the statue next to the statue. So it's like two statues together because he does, you know, Mike likes to take the pictures of the statues on
Right.
campus. And then he does this trademark pose with his hands in his pocket. And that's
Yep.
the statue right next to all the statues.
Perfect.
Oh, it's,
That sounds perfect to me. And if I have to bring it to each individual school, like if I have a portable statue, I'll do that too.
He's
But
like,
one
"No,
everywhere would be nice.
I'll drop this off. They'll be like, thank you.
okay, Mike. That's the first half. If you want to stick around and chill with us, you're welcome. We have another hour to go. Or if you need to go do things, absolutely feel free to go do things.
I'm gonna hang out if
All
that's
right,
cool
man.
with you guys.
Hang
That
on.
is very
Absolutely.
cool with us.
No.
Perfect.
Okay. Let me do my ad read then. Folks, as always, thank you for donating your money to our Sickos Give Back charity drive. We did a great job this week. Commish just finished out sending out all the mailings, so soon
right.
you should be getting your stickers.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
You get 'em soon.
mine arrived because
All right,
I was
perfect.
a donor.
You were the first batch, Pitt Girl. So, yeah, I got everything in the mail. I think the last batch that I got in the mail was on the 10th, on Friday. So hopefully everything is received by the end of next week. Hopefully.
I can confirm that the stickers are really good and cool.
I agree.
Join our Patreon. $5 a month access to our Discord where we're always there talking about whatever. It's a great community, especially for the off season. If you're trying to come down off your high, you want to titrate down, don't worry. Sickos Committee Discord folks love to find other things to watch. People have already been going, what are you guys going to do next? And I need a little bit of time, but if you're one of those people that doesn't need that time, basketball is kicking up and they're having a great time. Pitt women today did
Pitt
something.
Women's. Yeah.
Like
Pitt women's basketball. Insane.
Yeah, I saw this way after the fact, but Pitt women's basketball, which I must open with, is not good. They haven't been good.
No.
Like in I don't even know how long. They had one tournament appearance in my entire undergraduate career. Today,
beep, hold up, beep.
Okay.
The Washington Commanders have just beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a walk-off doink, and went through the Commanders.
Oh my God!
Hey, girl, you're back on.
Tweet it, Jordan.
So yeah, Pitt women's basketball historically not great. They played SMU today, and towards the end of the second quarter, we're down 46-14. They came back and won that game 72-59, including like a 32-0 run in the middle of the third, entire third quarter and then some.
They didn't give up a point in the third quarter.
That's wild.
And they were still trailing when the third quarter ended.
Because of the hole they built themselves, yeah.
Because they were down by so much. I mean, the fun thing about this is that, like, I mean, I'm trying to be charitable here, but like Pitt women's basketball has been such a non-entity that I don't like. This took a while for people to notice. Like there were very few people that were aware of this game when it was happening outside of just like seeing the box score. Because like Pitt Girl, you mentioned that they made the tournament once when you were a student, and that's the last time they made the tournament, and you haven't been a student for a bit. My favorite Pitt women's basketball stat is that Pitt left the Big East in 2013, and the Pitt women's team won their last Big East conference game in 2011.
Jesus.
So, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, no, I mean...
It's cool to see something happen there with that team.
Yeah, so, like, I found out this was happening well after the game ended, and I think so did most of the rest of Pitt internet, to give you an idea of what Pitt women's basketball is normally like. And I wish it wasn't that way. So this was really exciting.
It's good.
We did a thing.
Oh.
So on purpose.
That's what the Sickos Committee is watching on the off season. So there's always things to watch. And
we got Sickos CBB. We also have Sickos on Ice, which is going for hockey right now. There's a lot of weirdness going on with hockey and college basketball. Our Too Fast, Too Sickos is going to ramp up once I think Daytona starts in February. And, we'll have plenty of stuff for the off season. Our Sickos of Summer, too, baseball, definitely be ramping up in spring training, too.
Okay. Got our merch store, sickoscommittee.org. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, our Substack. Shout out to Message Board Geniuses podcast. Think of the places we refuse to go. And as always, the softest, comfiest, officially licensed collegiate apparel, home field apparel. Use offer code yes, yes, 3 ha's for 15% off your first order. Beth and I.
Sorry. I wanted to ask Mike, like, how much home field stuff do you have, Mike? Have they given you like some stuff for all the travels?
I got it on right now. But...
You got a Georgia Tech right now? All right, I got the Duncan Campbell.
Yeah.
Campbell, the Duncan Camel for
there
sure.
We go.
Georgia Tech.
Nice.
We got Pitt, of course. The Tulane hoodie for Jordan. Villanova?
Yeah, I was with them for the last probably like 2 years, and it's been probably about 2 years since I've got anything new from them. So, but for 3 or 4 years, I was getting stuff constantly. I think they changed reps, and I just haven't connected with the new rep, but I still have a lot.
Yeah, that's what I always sleep in, what I always wear. It's all the time. Okay, so let's talk about a couple things about the games that just happened, because we're going to have to work through some emotions. Let's talk Notre Dame, Penn State first, the Orange Bowl.
First of all, I want to do, since Mike is here,
Do we have to do dangerous dramatic reading before Beth and I can
Beth,
laugh?
Beth will do it. Beth will do it. But first, I want to get to this part with Mike in the show notes that we have here. So there's an old story. I don't know what years, in the 19 some odd, whatever. Two men show up at the Sugar Bowl with Rose Bowl tickets. Two men shoved tickets at police clerk F.J. Aragon on duty at the Sugar Bowl football game yesterday and demanded to be seated. Aragon said he looked at the tickets in amazement and they were for the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. He pointed this out as the pair walked tipsily away and one muttered, "I told you we caught the wrong train." Now, Mike, has something like this happened before?
People have a friend that's gonna be an asshole. You like that? It's like, I told you so.
Mike, has this happened? Have you showed up to the wrong game with the wrong tickets?
I have not.
Okay,
but that has been the fear all the time, where you have two games in one day, and maybe you go to the first one second, and vice versa. But
okay.
no, I have not. But
all right.
It was funny when I was at the Orange Bowl. I thought I heard somebody yelling at somebody wearing Ohio State, and I thought maybe that was the person.
Well, guess what? There was a story from Johnny McGonigal. He said he just ran into Ohio State fans in the hotel elevator. They misread the bracket and thought Ohio State would be playing in the Orange Bowl. But they wound up in Miami for Penn State and Notre Dame. So we have a sequel.
Anyone who has attended NCAA tournament basketball games in March, you have met these people. Like this happens all the time because those brackets are so hard to read, and people are like, "Oh, we're in the Indianapolis part. We'll just go there." And it's like, "No, babies, no."
So the
you're in Iowa City. Don't do that.
The March Madness bracket does not help by having names like West and then having the host cities be Pittsburgh. Like, yes, that is Western PA, I guess.
So this is like Mike, this is like your I dreamt that I was taking a test and it was in a language I didn't know. This is your special nightmare of, oh God, I'm in the wrong place or with the wrong tickets or on the wrong day.
Absolutely. I mean, you do not want to face that, especially like last year when I was going for 90 games, and if I missed one, 89 sounds a whole lot worse than 90. Yeah. But I still have dreams that I'm failing college. It happens all the time, and to have that play out in real life would be horrific.
Oh my God! I show up at the wrong Tiger Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, this was supposed to be Wednesday night Maction.
Oh no!
Not to mention the comments that there would be. It would be an end of an era of superiority that I would not want to face that reality right now.
Is that when you know you got to retire if something like this happens? Like it's like, oh man, I lost. I messed up my Maction. It's over.
Someone will come and say you're washed, CFP Campus Tour for sure.
Yeah,
they always say that.
Dreams die on Tuesdays in Toledo.
His obstructed view is not really that obstructed. He's done.
He's toast. No. He's toast. So, Beth, our friend Danger, who is a Penn State fan, who suffered mightily here, has written something for us to read. You're going to read it, I believe?
Yes.
The dramatic reading. This is Danger, our resident committee Penn State fan, who is a realist. We're close with him. He's been with the committee since basically the beginning. He's been on the pod a couple of times too. But he wrote. I don't want to call it a manifesto, but
he titled
it's really long. It's really long. But Beth is going to do a dramatic reading here. And sit back, enjoy the perspective, and I think maybe some Steelers are going to get involved in here too.
It's possible.
Okay, all right.
And this is a beautiful piece of art, and like all good people who are posting through it, it doesn't have paragraphs. An Ode to Sisyphus by Danger. One weekend has passed, and 2 football seasons have ended. Penn State had an excellent season, and I enjoyed watching this group play sound football and accentuate its stars. James Franklin's coordinator hires were both hits, which is tough to do. And his game management got better. Any other year, we lose those USC and Minnesota games. However, much like Sisyphus pushes his boulder up the hill, James Franklin cannot climb the ladder without sliding down to the bottom. He is stuck in above averageness, perpetually the bridesmaid. Having no wide receivers can only get you so far, but hey, I will take the national semifinal. I'll miss Tyler Warren and Abdul Carter and enjoy watching anyone on Sundays that doesn't end up on the Browns, the Ravens, or the Bungles. Speaking of the AFC North, the standard is the standard. 10 wins, mind-numbing losses, refusal to innovate or iterate. Mike Tomlin will push the boulder to 9-10 wins on the backs of high-end talent that ends the season too hurt to play 110% and carry the team. This team never fires coaches because the owner's granddad and uncle never fired coaches. The Steeler way was built on zagging, being different, embracing innovation, and building a team out of solid parts that others didn't look at. Now people set their watches to it, and good teams thump us come December and January. There's a fine line between smashing grapes and drinking wine, and holy shit, do we need a quarterback who won't make me yell in despair when selected like one Kenny Pickett, never trust Pitt quarterbacks, and an updated defensive philosophy. 2 teams, unchanging like the cycles of the moon or the presence of gravity.
I mean, that's beautiful.
Here endeth the reading.
Yes,
Here endeth the reading. It's beautiful. Shout out to Danger.
beautiful.
Just a work of art there. Summarizing the Steelers and Penn State season, along with some Pitt hating in there, which, you know,
What did we
typically
even
you
do
can
to
tell-
you, Danger?
You can
And
tell.
he did nothing wrong.
you can tell, you know, he's a Penn State fan. So we got to put that part in there because, you know, we got some people, you know, think that this whole podcast hates Penn State, which,
I mean, we do.
you know, y'all can, if you want to laugh, go right ahead.
I read the thing. I did. I read the thing.
Hey, hold on. Let me tell a joke.
Okay.
Did you know that Penn State completed a national semifinal game without completing a pass to a wide receiver?
That is last year Iowa shit.
Did you know that's true? That is very true.
It's very true. They
That's
almost won. They almost won a college football playoff semifinal. Not throwing
Do
a
you
pass
know-
to a receiver.
Do you know the other 2 teams that had games with 0 wide receiver receptions in the FBS?
Is it Army Navy?
It is Air Force.
I was
I'm
gonna
sorry,
say Air
Army
Force.
2.
Yeah,
Army
it's
2 and
definitely Air
Navy.
Force. It has to
Air
be.
Force.
Air Force and Navy.
Army too.
Oh, it's because Army threw had
Yeah,
passes.
because our
That's right.
Army's got that fancy new offense.
They do.
Listen. I decided not to go dig up the person in my mentions. Whenever I criticized Drew Allar for not being the world's most accurate passer way back in week 1, who decided he was going to spend an entire afternoon dunking on me, I'm like, oh, I want to find you so bad, buddy, but I don't want to scroll up that far.
I want to take a moment to appreciate Drew Allar's last second heave into the sideline during the pitchy woo woo. I laughed.
I've never-
I laughed.
Look. You know, when you do the pitchy woo woo, and you got to do the laterals.
Just tucking
but
it directly into the sideline.
I've never seen somebody overthrow the lateral the entire width of the field. I mean, he's on the other sideline, and he just overthrew the lateral to the complete other sideline, and that ended the game.
I just want you to know, I'm not going to read it, but I want you to know that the ESPN play-by-play to describe that last play is very good. It's very long.
I'm gonna give a shout out to this game. This game was amazing. I know
Yes.
you were in attendance, Mike. It was a great game. I'm sure the atmosphere was insane. I thought Penn State were gonna blow their doors off in the beginning. I was like, oh god, Notre Dame's done. This is their line's done. It's 10-0. They can't stop anything. And I don't know where this
More
gear...
importantly, Commish, it's more importantly, they're all hurt.
Yes.
Notre Dame is the most beat up ass team in this country.
I'm like, it's 10-0, and they got nothing going on, and then Riley Leonard gets hurt. Then the backup, is it Angelini?
Yeah, something
I
like
think
that.
I'm adding it. So he comes in, and that's the drive of a backup QB's life, essentially, against a ridiculously tough defense, goes down the field, gets a field goal. It's 10-3 at halftime. You're like, okay, maybe Notre Dame can center themselves here. Maybe Angelique could bring it back, but Riley was back. And they tied the game up in the second half, and I'm like, okay, I feel like this game was, like I said, like the lines were dominating the play, and Jeremiah Love had that amazing hurdle, but if you really look at it, it's only a 2-yard gain.
This was
that hurdle was amazing and did not get as much hype as it should have because the next play was a really big play.
Yeah,
but
it's a great
they showed it in slow-mo, and you can watch him hurdle the guy and then very, very carefully, intentionally land on his good leg. And like the athleticism in that hurdle is true.
He jumped off the good leg and landed on the good leg. It was an amazing hurdle.
Here's the part that sucks for Penn State, right? Penn State fans, I'm sorry about this.
Just one part. Just this is the only part.
Drew Allar has a decent game, goes for 135 yards, which if you're Penn State, that's about what you want. Most of those going to Tyler Warren, that's incredibly what you want.
Yeah.
It didn't throw any picks all game until he throws the dagger. Now,
technically, there were like 2 more that came back on penalties. Yes. Let's not forget that.
No, it was only one on the book.
That counted in the scorebook. There was
failed several times on bad throws.
Mike, what was the crowd like? Where were you at? Like, were you in like a Penn State section? Were you in a Notre Dame section?
Yeah, I was in a Notre Dame section, and I've been to all 3 of Notre Dame's playoff games. First one versus Indiana, then at the Sugar Bowl versus Georgia, and then obviously the Orange Bowl. And the first game was they just smashed Indiana, but the Orange Bowl had a similar feel to the Sugar Bowl where Notre Dame just found a way to win. I don't want to say destined, but they took defeat and switched it and just took the momentum. And at that game, I think that, like you said, Penn State fans were feeling really good for a while.
Yeah.
And then a couple plays switched it. And then to me, I was watching it thinking Notre Dame's going to figure out a way to pull this game out. And they did. And everybody kind of did the celebrate the Cobra when he threw the interception. Yeah, the surrender Cobra. But no, Penn State, they showed up in white. They were dominating the crowd in the beginning, and then it just slowly shifted to Notre Dame fans had a belief, and they rode that all the way to the end.
I need you to know that this Penn State team was 3 for 11 on third downs. That ain't it, Chief. Like that's the one that jumps out at me as, oh no, can't do that. I had so much fun watching this game. Oh, good. I'm blurry again. Hold up. Pardon me. Refocusing. I hate all of you.
There were 3 for 11 on third downs.
3 for 11 on thirds. Yeah. And
that's been a beautiful disaster.
That's gonna hurt you, man. This one had so much stuff on it. I feel bad for the Penn State fans who, if you ask them, we have mercilessly mocked about their big game syndrome. This doesn't help.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't. We know this one was a big one because Penn State lost.
Right? Yeah. Like that's
what was up with the Penn State signs? Like the cheerleader signs on the side.
Show them we are the loudest fans.
Show them we're the loud. You doubted our Penn State fandom.
I posted this on Blue Sky, and I'm still like sort of thinking through this. I don't know what it is about that sign in particular, but that sign has so much Penn State derogatory energy. And I can't put my finger on why, but it has the same energy as this guy who I think I've talked about on the podcast before, who was a big Penn State fan who was on the same tour I was when I was in Ireland last year. And we were learning about Gaelic sports and all of this. And the tour guide was talking about the seating capacity of Croke Park, which is like 90,000. It's not a small stadium. This is where they do Irish football and the hurling championships and all of this. And we're walking to go get lunch, and Penn State fan goes, well, I'm a Penn State fan, and Beaver Stadium is over 100,000, and it's the second largest city or the third largest city in Pennsylvania on game day. And our tour guide's like, yeah, cool. And I'm over here like, really? Really? That's what that sign is.
Man.
Oh, that's so much. Some other fun facts here, of course. Commish, you want to see the graphics that came out for this one?
God, man, these graphics were like so mean
Brutal.
to like James Franklin. It was just like, I don't feel like James like blew this game.
No,
Like, I don't.
Well, so he didn't, but only because Drew Allar saved him from doing any sort of James Franklin blowing the game thing by throwing an interception instead.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to give him any like issues with the clock at the end because, I mean, like people were giving him like, okay, why would he do the field goal safe when it's like 4th and 2 with like 20 some odd seconds left? I'm like, Notre Dame's got a timeout. Maybe they want to run and get the first down, or I mean the punt. But I mean, they still almost blocked it. Like they had a shot to block it, but the guy just like he hopped the line but missed the kick.
Yeah.
To basically do that, and then he got, at least 2 plays off. Which I mean, when we talked about the FCS title game, when it was the walk-off punt, like there was no seconds left, James kind of did the opposite of it, and like, hey, give us like 2 shots. Like nothing happened in those 2 shots, but it, like he had them with the ball back with some opportunity. I don't feel like it's his fault here. Like, I don't want to blame James, but all the graphics were like, James Franklin falls to 1-18 versus AP top 5 teams. And it's just like, what Danger said in his monologue, I'll say, he is kind of like stuck in above averageness. Like, how do you make that leap? Like, he's just there.
Like, fans, you see you too.
It's just like he he's got the wide receivers, but he doesn't have the quarterback. Now he's got the quarterback, but he ain't got any wide receivers. He's got an all-world tight end, but like awesome running game, but nobody else. It's just, I don't know if like James Franklin is just a bad chef. Like, he puts together a meal and yeah, it's fine, but it's like missing an ingredient here or there. Like you're like, James, give him that bay leaf that everybody hates. Like James.
No, wait, what are you talking about? No one hates bay leaves.
I just hate like accidentally like getting it in when I ate it in my jambalaya, but whatever. It's like, oh crap, I got the bay leaf. It's like getting in the jambalaya. It's like getting the baby in your king cake. It's
so,
like you get.
So, Commish, you were saying about how these graphics are mean. I think the meanest thing about the graphic from CBS Sports, which is that says James Franklin falls to 1-18 versus AP top 5 teams, is because they've chosen a picture of him in which he looks like a particularly disappointed and angry thumb. No, and Marcus Freeman is out here also on this graphic, being the most beautiful man alive,
the most beautiful, sexiest man alive, and James Franklin like when they position him on this graphic, which is it's ridiculous, but he's just like. It's like
so
it's almost
mean.
like guy.
He's a mean, angry thumb.
Oh
no! Like CBS Sports did this. Like any of the social media, like they put like the worst picture of James Franklin they can find up there. It's just like James. The thing is like as soon as he made the field goal. The camera panned to James Franklin. He's just
you
like
can
this.
see the moment when his soul dies.
he's just like he did like an internal surrender cobra. Like his hands were up there and he was looking up, but like his hands weren't physically up there, but like his soul's hands were just like it's so bad.
Have I given the PA contingent enough Penn State Schadenfreude?
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Right.
Okay, so get out your system there.
Hold on. I have some things.
Yes.
I have some Reddit posts from Penn State fans.
Perfect.
It says, I just want to read some of the comments from this RCFB post here. These are all Penn State fans. We completed more passes to Notre Dame than we did to our wide receivers.
Yep.
All right. What's a wide receiver? Is it one of those skinny Tyler Warrens that other teams seem to like a lot? Here's another one. It's like that moment in Groundhog Day when Bill Murray starts doing nice things, but he can't save that homeless man. James Franklin has a good defense, makes decent decisions, but he can't figure out how to recruit a quarterback and wide receiver group at the same time.
Yep.
And then one Penn State fan is just basically defeated at this point. I'm just so tired of being close, getting my hopes up, getting let down. Every year for the last decade, and 2005 and 2008 have been this way. Maybe mediocrity would be better because I'd never get hopeful.
No.
Oh,
God, that's
down bad.
Jesus.
Oof.
Yeah. Again, there's different stages of grief in those Reddit posts. You know,
God, we need to Xanax the water supply in Happy Valley. Jesus Christ.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that.
I'm saying someone should, Beth.
put Xanax in our water.
Okay, so that was our game 1. Notre Dame wins. They are going to Atlanta for the college football playoff, something we care about a lot and love talking about. And then we go across the United States, and so does Mike, to get to the Cotton Bowl in Arlington, Texas. Now, Mike, the weather got here, you see, last week.
Yeah.
And this became a rather big issue. Was it hard to get in and get around?
I just missed it, and there's been a couple, at App State I went there week 4, and then the next 5 days later was Hurricane Helene.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the Rose Bowl, and a couple days later was the Palisades fire, and then this one, Dallas was supposed to be snowed out, and I got warnings on Southwest that you could change your flight and make adjustments. And I took an 8:45 flight from Miami. I landed in Dallas at 11:30, and everything was okay. I did show a photo of the rental cars because I didn't go with National, who I'm executive elite. I went with Dollar, and they just left all the cars with snow all over them, and so you had to unbury them yourself. There was no shovel or brush or anything in the car to do that.
It was like, what were you using? Do you actually print the physical boarding pass, and then you just scrape the windshield with it? What were you using?
I used my hands to take all the snow off the windshield, and I did it for I did it for a Kia, and then I started the car, and then the windshield wipers weren't going at the same time. So then I ditched that car. This is funny. So I ditched that car. I go to the one next to it, and it works. And then I drive 20 miles, and I go to a Kroger grocery store. I'm filling up. I'm eating food in the parking lot, and I look in the center console, and I have 2 sets of keys.
Oh, no.
I accidentally took the keys from the other car, and it's just like when you turn in a car and they say, did you leave it there? You got to give it to the shuttle driver. So I had to drive all the way back to the airport and put the keys in that car. So off to a bad start, but I didn't miss a game, and the snow was not really an issue. Foot traffic, walking around the Cowboys Stadium, there was a lot of snow there, but the roads, they had brined and they de-iced the plane and all that. So it wasn't really an issue on game day.
Everyone here thinks I'm going to be so emotionally sad about this. That Texas lost. It's fine. I'll take my licks. Yeah, horns down. Commish, I was thinking, you asked me to do sad.
Jordan, you got to hit the button.
Oh,
yeah, I wanted a sad version of this.
I don't have a sad version because I realized it's just taps. So if you slow it down, it's just taps and it's fine. Okay, here I'll get here's the sound.
I spent this whole game listening to that live and not horns downing for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
We tried.
I mean, we changed shirts at halftime.
We did.
We all went on. We all put on our Delta Fight Nokra shirt.
That's right. We did
for
that
you.
For you.
We put the Delta State shirt on for you, and it kind of worked until it didn't.
It kind of worked.
It was working.
This
Texas football, it kind of worked until it didn't.
I mean, hey, you know what? I'm fine with it, man. This thing was close, and then it just fell apart so fast. 28-14 is not a real indication of this game.
Yeah, that score is kind of a lie. It's not a lie, but it also kind of is a lie.
Because it was 14-14 for a long time.
And then what happened?
I love this.
Pick six, and then
this was like, I love these type of games where Ohio State just goes right down the field at 7-0. We're like, oh God, here we go. It's gonna be a blowout. Then Ohio State stops Texas. You're like, okay, whatever. Then here comes Ohio State, and then Ohio State decides to just basically make it harder on themselves.
Oh,
Like,
so much harder.
So many
much
like
harder.
penalties. Like, okay, cool. Let's hold. How about an unsportsmanlike conduct? Let's make it 2nd and 27. Why the hell not? Let's just keep doing that. And then Texas was like, no, you're not gonna. Like, Texas is good enough to be like, no, you're not converting 2nd and 21 or 2nd and whatever on us to get a first down. Texas was good enough to do that. The funny thing is, like, Texas was just trying to pull out all the stops, everything to just try to get the ball down the field and score. They finally do it in the first half. It's 7-7.
I need to talk about this moment right here.
Okay.
Because the emotion that I felt here. Texas marches down the field, 7 plays, 59 yards, like boom. And there's like no time on the clock left at this point, right? Like it's there's like 16 seconds left. We'll kick it back off to Ohio State, no big deal, right? No,
you were in the Big 12, sir.
I know.
Should know better.
And the screen pass from my fucking nightmares.
Look, as soon as the screen pass, like
75 fucking yards.
Like, you don't see the full screen, but like, where were you in the stadium, Mike? When the screen hit? Like, where were you?
I was actually in that. People were thinking that we're going into halftime.
Yeah,
they were ready for it, and it was just that response. And you just I saw him. He came towards me and then ran away, and people just. Yeah. Texas fans were devastated immediately.
I mean, there was great reaction shots, like
the crowd shots of so many like lawyers or whatever in cowboy hats.
There was the one in like the baby blue quarter zip that was just like this. It was so great. But the funny thing
so
is, like,
hard the cat bit me.
When the screen, they're throwing a screen, and then I see him catch the screen, and I'm like, oh shit, he's got like 3 linemen with him.
I've rewatched this so many times.
And like, I was like, oh, there's nobody there. And he's got 3 linemen. He's got a convoy. And then I'm like, okay, so they're dropping 8 here. And so it's like 3 linemen, a couple wide receivers versus like 8 defensive backs. And it's just like, and then the hole just like parts open, and then he is just gone, and there's nobody close to catching him. It's just like,
oh god,
I cackled so loud when this happened. I was like, you gotta be kidding me!
This physically hurt me. This physically caused me pain. That up and down, I haven't felt that in a long time, folks. Because there's not many games I get really into. This was one of them, and that hurts. I forgot how much that one stings. I would like to mention you mentioned quarter zips. The Cotton Bowl people, the official Cotton Bowl people, are there wearing quarter zips? One of them's wearing a quarter zip without an undershirt. It looks like that's weird.
That's
weird.
Like, would you call that raw dogging a quarter zip?
Yes, that is what that is called, actually.
Oh, Jesus. And
you said you were going to work these words into it.
I'm not doing that.
Okay.
The zip between that and Matt Brown going, our friend of the program, Matt Brown going, my blazer for my bowl game was better. What's the use of having a bowl game if you're not going to like get good swag out of it?
I mean, he's right.
Yes. You're supposed to be good at grifting. Grift. Get the blazer.
Yeah. You need to
have. If we host a bowl game, I want a ball gown.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
There you go.
How best I can do is a quinceañera dress. How do you feel about that?
Same difference.
I'm very interested in exploring bowl game formal.
Bowl game bow tie, bowl game tux. Oh yes. Bowl game white tie. Because we're classy like that. Mm-hmm. This thing, like I said, this happens, and then 14-7, and it feels like it's that way for a while. Texas scores middle of the third quarter, and then we're at 14-14. And for just a couple of like 3 and outs, it feels like it's just crawling towards an inevitable finale. And then Ohio State just marches down the field. 13 plays, 88 yards, 7:45 off the clock. Oh God. I felt the boa constrictor. Feel yourself just being, you look at the clock, you're like, how are they still, is it the same drive? What's going on? What's going on? They score. That's okay. We're going to get this. And then the fucking fumble return touchdown.
I love the
Texas
fact
got so far down the field,
like Texas
and
gets all the way.
how many interferences in the end zone to
Yeah.
get how many first and goals, and
was-
then that happened.
It was first and goal at the 1 yard line. This drive sequence is probably going to haunt like Sarkeesian. I think it may haunt you too. Whatever, it's fine. But I mean, you know, you don't really pay any repercussions for this. But this is Sark. Like this is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt Sark. Like really, really bad here. They drive 10 plays. They get all the way down to first and goal at the Ohio State 1. 3 minutes 54 seconds left. Right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. Run up the middle, no gain. So now it's second and goal. 3:12 remaining.
Fine. As long as you don't take a loss. Don't take a loss.
Right? Don't take a loss. Let's throw a toss to the left here on
Nope.
second and goal because we were stoned.
Don't do that.
Well, Sark decides to do that. What happens there? What
7-yard loss. 7-yard loss.
7-yard loss. Okay, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Blew it up. God, just blew it up.
Everything's fine. Now it's third and goal at the 8. 2:29 remaining. Like maybe they get another pass interference. Maybe they get back and start all over again. Quinn Ewers pass incomplete. Now it is fourth and goal at the Ohio State 8 with 2 minutes and 13 seconds remaining.
Going well, I would say.
I would say it's going well. It's 21-14. This play got spoiled by the timeline for me. This play, what happened? It was just basically a bunch of screaming, like Jack Sawyer, wow.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh my God, like Jack Sawyer called game. I'm like, what happened? And like, I haven't seen the play yet. Like, I hadn't seen it yet. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, Jack Sawyer is going to do something. I'm like, whoever tried to block Jack Sawyer just whiffed.
Nope, missed entire miss. It's fine.
Entirely. Like, just missed. And Quinn's like doing the sliding and the pressure to like buy like a split second. And he didn't buy that enough split second.
Not at all.
Sawyer knocked the ball out. It bounces perfectly to him. And he just runs down the field. Nobody really with Texas to catch him. It's a touchdown. He gets revenge against an old roommate, which I mean, I'm sure
they were roommates.
They were roommates. He gets
that was a great tweet, by the way.
Yeah,
for you guys. That was a great tweet. Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't? I mean, personally, I've had some bad roommates in my life, and I would love to get revenge against a previous roommate.
Look, either you had a bad roommate or you are the bad roommate.
Yeah, basically.
The duality of man, except sometimes it's the same person.
Like how if you were wondering who the gay cousin at Thanksgiving is, it's probably you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, next drive, Quinn Ewers interception on 3rd and 4. Just, made a bad choice, and Ohio State can run out the clock. It sucks. I hate all this.
At this point, you're just like, Quinn's got to take a chance, and it's an interception. And you're like, okay, it's fine. It's done. I mean, like, I feel like that play had to be so emotionally deflated.
In that same thing happened in the Orange Bowl. Commentators go, Drew Allar needs to be more aggressive. I want to see him be more in there, more aggressive. The next thing he does is throw the interception.
I laughed so hard
aggressively
when the commentators were like, Drew Allar, extremely trustworthy quarterback. Like, we did not already see him throw 2 bad picks that just magically happened to come back because of various, penalties, procedural penalties.
Yes. Just like, it was also like Greg McElroy was like,
tickets. I don't count warnings, Pitt Girl. Okay, I don't count.
Near misses, definitely not something that you should keep track of if you work in a warehouse. There's no reason to be concerned about those. Also, Drew Allar only threw 9 interceptions this season. How many times did he throw the ball, guys?
Probably a ton. Probably so many.
Probably so many.
Yeah, lots.
Yeah, this guys. You know what? I'm okay with this Texas game. It's sad. I have weird feelings about who to cheer for in Ohio State, Notre Dame, and a national title. We'll get to that later on. I've got some weird emotional complex feelings here. But the fact that Texas did so well this year, and I wasn't expecting them to after both Georgia losses, I can say that. Like, remember, they lost to Georgia twice. So this was, I never felt like this was going to be at the very top team, but I don't know. I don't feel like anyone's good this year. Well, again, the other things we'll talk about. If Notre Dame wins this year, I'm going to point to them and go, okay, like they're a pretty good team. I don't know that they're great, but I don't think anyone's great. So
transitive national champion NIU.
I mean, the NIU transitive national champion and Potato Bowl win with the biggest dump of his career, Thomas Hammond.
He said that. I believe
I'm just looking forward to trying to figure out who is 2025's Newt Rockne. That's going to be my off-season project.
God. I truly believe NIU is so happy about this stuff because people were kept sending us today. I think it was an NIU tennis player that beat someone at Notre Dame or their competitive tennis team.
Yeah.
And now it's like
they keep
fuckers.
Oh,
they keep
out for
posting
free
us
on that forever.
Yes.
They keep posting us and like NIU and Michigan should play each other right now. Like, you know, and I'm like, it's weird that they both finished 8-5.
That's wild, right?
They both finished 8-5. It's weird as hell that NIU and Michigan both finished 8-5 after they're winning their bowl games, which is it's pretty insane that happens. But you know, again, one note I want to make, and I posted this and ran away from the timeline. Both teams that made the national title are the only two teams that defeated Indiana.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is final ranking number 3 Indiana.
Is it like 3 Indiana? Can we put like, you know, threes in Indiana somewhere? No, I don't know.
In 3-ana.
In 3-ana. Is it like Indina, like when they had the typo on the uniform before, like the misspelled uniform?
I found out about a team from, I want to say American Samoa, but maybe somewhere else in the Pacific. A soccer team whose team's name are the Wolves because they were going to be the Wolves, but there was a mystery on the original jersey, so they just went with Wolves.
There's a time they just call them the Wolves.
Yeah, and they just go by that now.
All right.
Look,
I grew up with a kid and his name was Banny, Banny, and I asked him where their parents came up with the name, and they said they really put Barry, but they couldn't read his handwriting, and they just went with Banny. So, yeah.
Oh my God.
You know what's great? Like when my two kiddos came in, like somebody else was doing the handwriting. Like I was not doing the handwriting. Like somebody else was writing this, not me, which was good because that could have happened.
Banny is so good. Banny is so
good.
Banny.
And that's how the Grink stole Christmas.
That's how the Grink was there.
Some fun facts here. In its 13 wins, Texas averaged 4.8 yards a rush and scored 26 rushing touchdowns. In its 3 losses, Texas averaged 1.4 yards a rush and didn't score a single rushing touchdown.
Yeah. I would simply run the ball.
Have you considered establishing it?
I mean,
the run established 2024, but not 2025.
And y'all, all 4, actually 5, if you go down to, so including in AIA, all of the winning teams now are from the Midwest this year.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild. And most of the teams in the finals of the playoffs, of all the playoffs, minus a couple of outliers, they're mostly from the Midwest too. This is a Midwest dominant year.
Culver's supremacy.
Yeah, it really feels that way.
The cheese curds are winning.
And of course, we're playing our very Midwest final for FBS in, of course, Atlanta.
Yes, the most Midwestern city.
It's the Midwest of the Southeast.
Commish, do you have anything else weird going on? Do you want to talk about?
Right. One final thing I want to do. I want to end it to this is kind of a viral tweet and viral Instagram post that's done. I want to give a shout out to former Dayton and Toledo kicker Michael Denning, which basically he announced that he's leaving being a professional kicker, and he's now going to become a professional male model.
Oh yeah.
So I want to give a shout out here. I'm gonna read his basically his announcement. He was Toledo's kicker, And this is what he says. Dear Rocket Nation, I want to start by thanking you all for supporting me throughout my time at Toledo. After careful thought, I have realized a great deal about myself and my life. I realized that life is no longer calling me to pursue a career in football, but to pursue other passions, namely male modeling and being a movie star. After deep reflection, I grew to realize that no matter where I was never the best kicker. But by God, if I wasn't the most handsome man in any locker room that I have ever stepped foot in. My immense mediocrity at the sport I have dedicated so many years of my life to has been brought to light by 4 years of underwhelming performances. Through it all, however, I have remained the most cunning, charismatic, devilishly handsome, and eccentric man within 2 organizations I have graced with my presence. It is obvious that many NFL GMs and executives may be surprised by this decision, as I am widely favored to be a first-round pick. With this, I say, especially to Roger Goodell, you may breathe a sigh of relief, my friend, but remain vigilant. As I enter unemployment and begin gracing covers of male modeling magazines and Hollywood big screens, I ask that you keep me in your minds, not as awesome cool guy Mike, but as your neighborhood friendly kicker. 48 out. By the way,
graphic for
Wow.
this.
By
The
the way-
graphic for this is incredible.
by the way, if you find him on Instagram, that entire post was set to "It's Raining Men."
Oh, that's so good.
So I went to like share it, and then I was like, "Why is It's Raining Men playing? Did I mistakenly hit this?" He set the post Raining Men.
Mhm.
He did it.
Oh, it's so
Hallelujah!
beautiful.
It's Raining Men. Hey.
I feel like we can only have one kicker a generation that is just that kicker. Like for the millennials, it's Chris Kluwe, and I'm thrilled to have met Gen Z's version of this.
Yeah.
I love the combo like Dayton Toledo thing. Like he was a flyer and then now he's a rocket, so he's like flying on the rocket. I mean, it's just
It's so
it's a natural
good.
progression, right?
It's so incredibly good. God,
It's amazing.
it just makes me happy.
That's what I want to end the podcast on.
Okay, folks,
A lighter note to bring a smile to Jordan's face after
Thank
all
you.
the horns downing.
that was so good. Mike, thank you so much for coming to chat with us. Enjoy your final game, the championship game. If people like you, where can they find you?
CFB Campus Tour on Twitter and Instagram. I have a calendar for sale, obstructed views, my pin tweet on Etsy.
Yes.
I think I
Commish
just sold
and
2 or
Jordan, I've
3 of
seen-
them this
I-
evening. So
What's
I
that?
I said I think I sold 2 or 3 of them this evening.
My 7-year-old took mine. Like it's in his room. Like he's a big.
What
fan
was
of
his favorite month?
He I think his favorite month was the LSU one. He likes
Okay.
the month, the LSU one. He had a question for me like, what's SECU Stadium? And I was like, I had no idea what that was. And I was like, oh, it's Maryland Stadium. Like I'm like, oh, I had no idea. Like it's just called like SECU, which I mean, you gotta
Oh,
let
that's
Maryland in the SEC now. It's an SECU.
Yeah, there's a lot of DATQs and TDECUs
Yeah,
and
it's
SEFQs.
crazy,
and
but
all
yeah.
of the UFCUs.
I think his favorite is
and then-
LSU. And he's like, I had to explain this to him. I'm like, why is he sitting behind the pole? I'm like, well, I mean, it's an obstructed view thing. Like, this is what he does, and he posts it, and like people love it. And I'm like, but why? He can't see the game. And I'm like, dude,
That's the joke.
that's the joke, though. Like, you know, and then like I try to give him the backstory. He's like, but he still can't see the game. I'm like, all right, I'm done. It's
The
so
most
hard.
angry dad, like, no, I'm fucking, no.
I'm
no,
done. Just walk away. You can have the calendar. Fine. Enjoy it. It's in his room now.
There you go. Well, Beth, Pitt Girl, Arthur, you guys want ones, just DM me your address. I'll send you guys two because I already sent Jordan and Commish one. And,
It's great.
Jordan, I'll just be spending the off season trying to determine what's next. I don't know if it's going to be basketball. It's going to be college hockey, arena football league. It could be anything. So But definitely got the first game mapped out, opening that Kansas stadium versus Fresno State on August 23rd.
That's right. He could be on the train, folks. We're gonna make him go on the train.
Let's do it.
Jesus, always the train with you. Oh my God.
Oh God. Oh.
Okay, folks, that's what we got for tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out, and we'll see you on the other side.